And for years, I've been with my team going into the classroom, and we're an ASCA model program, so we're always trying to be very proactive with our delivery. So we look at the data, and then we ask ourselves, okay, if the data is telling us the kids are not enrolling in college as well as like we would like, or submitting the FAFSA as well as we'd like, or prepared for their final choice, if you will, their career plan, what can we do when we push into the classrooms to make that improvement? So as we're going into the classrooms for the last decade, we're always evolving. We're always thinking about ways that we could do better. And then, so really these kinds of thoughts and actions led us to this kind of an evening where we can just pick the brains of our fellow school counselors and educators, where you can give us some ideas, and then we could even share some of our thoughts around that. And we can all eventually have a place to have those ideas stored, and then we could continue to share that with our network of people who are connected to us through CounselHero. And at the end of the day, it's really school counselors trying to help other school counselors. So any and all ideas are really fair game this evening. And then we'll kind of go from there. It's a very casual, fun event. If you want to go grab some coffee while you're doing this, if that helps you spark some ideas, that's totally fine. But just have fun with it. We'll do the best that we can, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Perfect. So my suggestion is, I think this is how we entrepreneurs do things. We start with problems. And we think about the problem, and the problem generally brings us to the solutions and suggestions. So if it is okay, Shamun, we can start with problems that we encounter and go from there.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great idea. I think in recent history, especially last year, right, we would spend a lot of time as a team creating, let's say, this beautiful Google slide or PowerPoint, and it took a lot of time. And so we would present this, and then we would get the feeling, because we would also give them the kids the pre and post tests, just to see if they were able to grasp what we taught them or apply some of that stuff skill-wise to some of the things that we were trying to show them in the presentation. And we noticed through our data that kids are not necessarily learning the topic that we displayed or tried to teach them as well as we'd like. So for years, that's always evolving. So that is one problem that I'd like to tackle first and foremost. What are some things you have done in recent history, especially last year when everything was pretty much virtual? What are some cool things you did to try to solve that problem where students are not necessarily interested or participating as well as you'd like when it comes to counseling related presentations, when you go into the classroom and, let's say, talk about something like the FAFSA, or how to send your transcripts to schools, or how to apply to college, or coping skills that you can learn whenever you're stressed, nervous, or angry, and you're in school and you don't know where to go and don't know what to do to manage those feelings, and a host of other topics. But that's really problem number one. What can we do as educators, particularly school counselors pushing into the classroom, to engage students, to get them more involved? How can we make it more fun? How can we meet them where they're at?
Perfect. Shani, do you want to start?
It's interesting because I'm listening to what you're saying, and every school is different. So just a bit about my school. I'm a very small school. I'm a teacher. What brought me here was learning about what you guys are doing, because I'm actually going to be teaching a college course actually at Cal State LA, and I'm going to be teaching dual enrollment teachers from community colleges on how to engage high school students in the K through 12 sector. So I'm looking for strategies too on being able to share with these community college teachers who have no hands-on experience with maybe K through 12 kids, right, in their community college settings. So, in my program, the way we work is, I work in an independent study school. And so it really does have the connection that I find that I get with working with my students is just, you got to talk with them one-on-one. Luckily, my school is small, so I have to really lean in on building the relationship with my each and every kid one by one. And I don't get to reach all of them. And that's just a fact, right? I'm not going to be everybody's flavor, everybody's going to like a different person or persona to engage with. But I find that when I do get the time and I sit down and I talk with them, or I do spend a little time tutoring with them, and then they see me investing in them, giving them something of myself in terms of showing interest in what they're struggling with, I might not get the it might take a minute for me to get the buy-in. But eventually I might be able to go ahead and then implement something else, like with the conversations of, let's talk about career counseling. Let's go and have you meet with the student advisor. Why are we doing this? Because you're so close to your college. What is it that you want to do? So I always try to also backwards map it a lot with them, and having the conversation is well, what lights you up, right? What is it that you are interested in doing after you graduate high school? If you're already in 10th grade, you were already having that conversation. What is it that you want to do? Have you taken a career like assessments? Are they making any sense to the career assessments that you're taking? Did you have any connection to these at all? And if not, then, let's talk about it, right? What are some really cool things that you like? So I try to, I have the chance to talk with my school, because our school is small, that, kind of trying to chip away with each one of them individually, one by one, has been some level of success. And another thing that I try to do is I'm implementing, like, once a month, we do what do you call it? Like, have a professional come in, and so what we've been doing is kind of highlighting 30 and under, kind of like young thought leaders that might be a little bit more relatable to them, to come and kind of talk into a group.
To piggyback off of that, I am a recent graduate that just finished the school counseling program at St. John's University. And throughout my internship, I was at a kind of small high school working in the college and career office. And throughout that time, what I've experienced was, like you shared, having people that are younger, even previous graduates within the past 4 years, that most of our sophomores, juniors, seniors that have seen before, and kind of just speak in on their thoughts, whether they went to college, whether they stood close to home or went away, if they went out towards the military, if they went to a trade school. And we've realized within our school setting that there was a lot of students that were not aware of all their options, especially those that come from our first generation students. They're coming and they think, okay, college has to be my choice. And when meeting with students one-on-one, which I know all schools really hope for, another option that the school that I interned with, that they had, was college leaders. They had seniors basically having peer-to-peer help on how to do applications, checking college essays, basically having more guidance and support, since they're kind of looking at us as like a teacher role, like, okay, you're going to tell me what to do and help me. But at the same time, having those that are going through the same experiences as you are and having that peer-to-peer help really showed a huge turnaround. Not only that, with trying to adjust to this virtual world, we ensured 110% that we were having at least 2 to 3 college reps a week, so that they have more options, whether it was for New York, CUNY schools, SUNY schools, if there were people away, really trying to help our scholars, if they were interested in attending Yale or NYU, et cetera. So all in all, I 100% agree with everything that you said of really helping out. And yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else want to chime in on that? I have a couple of thoughts about that I'd love to pick your brains about.
So Yetunde just joined us. So this is an open conversation, and you're welcome to share your thoughts.
Okay. Fabulous. I'm listening, and I will hop in on the next topic. I'm listening in.
Perfect. And Nikisha, do you want to add anything else?
I'll just add that so I am a middle school social worker, and I have found that taking an interest in what the students are interested in and using that as a way to talk to them about certain topics has helped. So a lot of kids at the school where I'm at, they're really into anime. Not all of them, but a good amount. And that's not necessarily something I'm into, but I've watched a lot of anime and picked up on certain themes that I'm able to like relate it back to whatever it is, a topic that I want to talk to them about. And that's been useful. And then for when I did work with high school students, just an interest in just having them teach me something and then drawing a theme from that. So like show them that they already know what I'm talking about, but just giving them the language that they may not have at that time.
I think this is a really helpful tip.
I want to share with you something that really I've been lucky to be a part of the last couple of years. Is I work for a school district that really emphasizes career experiences from the moment students come in as freshmen to the time that they're seniors. So take, for instance, in the very beginning, and some of us talked about this already, we obviously stress self-discovery as the theme of your freshman year, right? You learn a little bit about yourself, what comes naturally to you, what are you good at? You know, is it speaking in front of people? Is it managing money? Is it building relationships, et cetera, et cetera? You may or may not get some of those answers through a career assessment, but we do stress the importance of all types of assessments to help you find a little bit more about yourself and then identify this career pathway. All right. So once you identify this career pathway, you at some point will sit down with your school counselor to plan for your schedule for the following year, keeping in mind that career pathway that you don't necessarily, by the way, have to be married to, but it's the one that you want to investigate at the very least. And if you are married to it, great, we'll also help you with that too. But the idea there is that you now accumulate as many career experiences throughout high school to confirm that pathway interest and turn it into a marriage or not and go in a different direction. But you have done it in the 4 years in high school where you didn't spend a lot of money or as much money as you would have if you had gone to college, right? So if you are aspiring engineer major or engineer person as a freshman and everything that you took career assessment wise, it all made sense to you and it aligned with you, then great. What we do then is encourage you to take this intro engineering elective. And then we also encourage you to go to this field trip, right? To a place where you can actually shadow an engineer. Perhaps there was a fair, like a career fair of some kind where engineers came to the school. Well, we encourage you to go to that fair. And every time you do these things, these are all accumulated career experiences. So then the following year, when you meet with me or one of your school counselors, we talk about one of those things or some of those things and see if that has confirmed your love or your interest for engineering, or if it has swayed you. And if it continues to interest you, then we suggest other classes that help you develop some skills for a future engineer, and so on and so forth. So it's this whole idea of career experiences. And I want to emphasize also that it's not always for a college going person. This also too can be done for a career school person, somebody who may be interested in a trade such as electricity or plumbing or carpentry, welding, so on and so forth. And we encourage you to have internships and career treks and field trips with carpenters, electricians, and so on and so forth. And put you in hands-on classes, like in our CTE department, where you actually get to test that out, see if you actually like to cut wood or work with, wires and things of that nature. So it's just something to really think about and to always encourage. And I know some of us work in different schools and others, and sometimes you don't have those resources. So you may have to outsource for some of those opportunities. But just the idea of accumulating career experiences is something you want to have in the back of your mind.
Can I ask you a question, Shamoon? How do you facilitate the career experiences? So for example, do you organize a field trip? Is it like a career tour? Do you have already the business partners with the relationships that the students can go see the facilities? Like, how does it work for you?
Yeah. So we have a career coordinator actually on our staff who works hand in hand with me as a school counselor and my colleagues of like 8 or 9 other school counselors. So her sole job is to A, develop community partners, B, find locations for those field trips, C, look for opportunities and where she can bring all the local area businesses to our school for a 1-day fair. And or connect you to a internship site at some point. That's not something you do as a freshman, but the internship site opportunity is going to be as a junior. So that's if you have a career coordinator on your staff and that person can facilitate a lot of that work behind the scenes for you, then it's a matter of me now connecting my students to that person's opportunities that's always displayed somewhere. Now, if you come from a school that doesn't have those resources or isn't big enough or doesn't have a career coordinator, well, then as a school counselor or an educator or admin, you might have to find somebody or you have to maybe do some of that work yourself, but you might have to outsource some help from outside agencies. And there are some, from my understanding, throughout the country, like if you don't have a career coordinator on staff, there might be somebody in the community somewhere that can connect your school to students to those opportunities. I hope I answered your question.
I was just curious, like the first part in terms of like the career, it sounds like you bring the business to the school, like as a first step and through a virtual experience versus the vice versa. And then the outsourcing of the internship, for example, taking the student to the site second.
I think in the very beginning, you get a combination of an opportunity for you to go to sites for a 1-day trip, and they come to you for a 1-day fair. As you get older, it expands to a little bit more than that. And then it turns into like a semester-long internship and or a full year internship or any other career experience that we can come up with throughout the 4 years. And sometimes that looks like something that you do in the classroom. It's not always going somewhere or them coming to you. It's something special connected to the careers within a particular class, whether it's an elective or an English class or whatever.
So we have Christy just joined us. Welcome, Christy. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, thank you.
Welcome. So this is a workshop where we share our ideas about the strategies of engaging students in counseling lessons. And I mean, it's an open microphone. You're open to share any thoughts, any experience that you have, or any problem with your students.
Okay, great. No, thank you.
So I want to pivot a little bit towards the actual title of this tonight's workshop, which is also to specifically focus for a minute also on lessons, counseling lessons. So like when we as school counselors go into the classroom and are perhaps a guest speaker for the day for that English class, what can we do as educators to get kids to be more engaged? Because Shana, you made a good point earlier. It's the relationships that help you really get the students engaged. But as school counselors, we don't work with the kids every day in the classroom. We jump in as a special guest, generally once a month, once in a while, whatever it is, depending on your school. Some administrators don't like it that you come too often, take away from instructional time. Some are a little bit more open to it if it makes sense, et cetera, et cetera. But whenever that is, when you jump in and you didn't have a chance to build that relationship like a teacher would every day, what can you do as a school counselor now to getting the students engaged in that moment? I mean, what if they're not really paying attention right away, or they don't seem to be interested about college applications or career exploration? What do you do then?
I think somebody raised this earlier, just the idea of showing up as yourself is a big part of it, and building, just showing up as your authentic self. Because if you are the guest speaker and you pop in and kids can tell that you're performing for them, they're much less apt to really buy into anything you have to say. So really coming with a level of authenticity, coming with things, maybe stories about yourself, obviously not being too personal, or if you're the kind of person who can do that, but bringing a part of yourself to the room so they can see that you are as engaged and impacted by the work as you are asking them to be. So when you then start to work on personal statements or anything much further down the road, or working on the college piece, that you're not starting from scratch with them. You've built that through, yes, what the actual workshops that you may set up, but also in your actions and how you interact with students daily. Yeah, another thing I want to say, I feel maybe it was you, Shamoon, who, am I saying that correctly, Shamoon?
Yes, thank you.
If you're in a setting where you aren't given the luxury of being able to have that one-on-one time with students on a regular, semi-regular basis, kind of just showing up in a lot of different places. Can you volunteer to work the lunch line? Can you work carpool, or volunteer as a line judge at a game? Be in places where kids, again, you're signaling that I'm available, I am here for you. Without just, if you just keep saying I'm here, but you're never actually there, it's harder for them to get buy-in. But if you are, they just see you in different places, so they get it, and you can then comment on the various times you've seen them. Oh, I saw you at this swim meet. Oh, it was good to see you as you got dropped off this morning. How was that bus ride? How was it? Whatever it is, just commenting on more than just the procedures and the pedantics of the daily life of school. So again, kids get the sense that I am invested in more than just the processes and procedure of what it means to be a student. I'm actually invested in you, the whole human, and I'm demonstrating that on a really regular basis.
Okay, so now let's take it up a notch. And thank you, by the way, everybody, for chiming in on all that. I appreciate it. I certainly agree 100% with the value of relationships and visibility to develop some of those relationships. So let's say now you do have those relationships intact. What about some specific classroom techniques you could use when you jump in? Like what things with pedagogy can you do? What are some tools perhaps you may have used from the tech side to help you really get a student to be engaged in a lesson? Any strategies like that anybody would like to share? We would love to hear from you.
I think, you're asking about them. Oftentimes I think when you kind of do any kind of introductions or icebreakers, you're really trying to learn about them. And really, I find that ways that I can feel that if I'm opening up a discussion question with a student to engage with them, I try to present it to them where they're at, usually with current events or a topic, or connecting it with some sort of musician, artist of some type. If I'm talking about, I was just doing this the other day, I was just talking about like app developers, right? Wanting to introduce some students about app developers. Well, I'm going to talk about all the apps that they use, what are their favorite apps? Why is this your favorite app? Show me what your favorite app is, and really kind of have them share from their perspectives on what is light and what is really on their forefront, what's going on in their world. I think that's generally what I try to do to engage them and just spark the conversation.
Yeah, I feel that icebreakers are a really good strategy to use and conversation starters, because it gives the students an opportunity to hear less from us and hearing more from them. And that feedback really gives us an idea of how to proceed forward with whatever we're going to present.
In terms of specific tech, in addition to what folks have offered, I've used Kahoot. But building a Kahoot that is questions about this, like little random things, but just something to kind of, yes, they're involved and engaged, but they don't necessarily have to talk to each other, because sometimes saying turn to talk to each other is just a disaster. but the Kahoot, and you get like silly music, and it's just like, so you may have serious questions about whatever topic it is you're presenting on, built in with other random things like a sports fact. Was there some performance at school? Did something weird happen in assembly? But just throw it in there that they're not quite sure what's coming next. And you've got the countdown, and like, from as an adult, I'm like, that is the strangest thing, but the kids like it. And so I just keep on doing it with random pictures or even some current events. So that's what I've used and seems to be working with them.
Okay, so I love Kahoot so much that even my kids and I will listen to Kahoot music and do trivia at home, and they'll have a dance party. So I am 110% with you on Kahoot. And Shirley, we just noticed that you just came in. Welcome to our workshop tonight. Long story short, we just want to take a moment as fellow educators, school counselors, educators alike, just to come up with some ideas on how to engage students when we jump into the classroom for school counseling lessons. So right now, we want to focus a lot around techniques that you can use with tech tools or instructional strategies and so on and so forth that may have worked for you, or that you may have heard from somebody else.
This is Christy. Everyone can hear me okay? I like using, I do like to use video, maybe like an article, just to get discussion, to get students thinking and get discussion going. But I do like to use restorative circles in particular, so that you're involving more students than what you would normally. As I guess as a shy person, I also like to get the shy students involved. So I really do like using restorative circles.
Quick question, do you use a talking stick in the restorative circle? Because I always love that.
I usually, normally I would during COVID times, probably. I haven't so far this year, but I probably would use something a little different, maybe just just maybe saying the person's name first and then doing it that way.
Thank you.
Sure.
Something I used, actually one of my teammates last year came up with this idea. I think we did a lesson with seniors on, may have been centered around career exploration, or maybe what plans you're thinking of and for your senior year or life after high school, your post-secondary plans, that is. And we used Pear Deck. Has anyone ever heard of Pear Deck? And so I can just envision it right now, and I can even share it with you all if you want to. Actually, I have that presentation where not only were the kids seeing a slide on Google Slides that was informative, but we asked them a question and they were able to answer that question by moving a small circle, like it was like a dot. So with their own mouse, they're able to move and answer the question, and we're able to choose one of 3 boxes to answer that question. So it got the kids moving, especially in COVID. This was really nice. So just picture that. You see a slide, you ask a question, hey, how are you feeling? And there's a picture of somebody who's sad in the middle or super excited about planning for college or post-secondary planning. And then they got to move a circle from their mouse that represents how they felt. So in that moment, if you didn't do that, you probably would get all cameras off and a lot of radio silence. But in that moment, at least more than half the kids were able to, for like 30 seconds, move their circle and answer that question, and they were engaged. So that was a nice way at the very beginning to try to reel them in, and from that point forward is just really trying to keep them engaged and do as many breaks where they get to participate by doing something. So Pear Deck, P-E-A-R, Deck.
Hi, everyone. Sorry I joined late. I just got back home from work. So I don't know if this was like already covered, but I feel like what has been kind of more useful was having students engage in activities, or like kind of like, oh, maybe if we're working on like college and career stuff, maybe like, oh, maybe do like a timeline thing, like 9th graders, you can do these, and then, have them figure out, like maybe have it unscramble and then have them figure it out themselves. And I feel like those kind of activities and many others could be tweaked when in virtual versus also like right now as we're kind of, I don't know where everyone else is at, but I'm in San Francisco, so we're fully back in person right now. So it's more kind of like, oh, transitioning back to person, like how do we, tweak it so that it matches, it works better in person.
So Shirley, do you want to share how is being back in the school with students when
Oh
you
yeah.
compare it to virtual?
Yeah, so currently I'm a school counseling intern, so I'm not yet a full-time school counselor. So last year I was interning at a middle school in San Francisco Unified School District. That's AP Giannini Middle School. So it was all virtual. It was really hard to, meet on students one-on-one was hard, but also I felt like some of the counseling lessons, I was glad that some of my students in the class were able to actually participate. And we actually use Peer Deck as well, Peer Deck and Nearpod, those sort of platforms to get some students to, like engage a little more. But I felt like some students were still very, like, not gonna lie, I feel like some students probably just left it in the background when me and my peers were presenting about like stress management or like A to G requirements, transitioning to high school, stuff like that. I felt like it was like a half and half. Like some students were kind of not involved and the others were really involved or kind of involved. But now when it's in person, I definitely feel that difference when I meet with students one-on-one. I haven't got the chance to do counseling lessons in person yet, so I can't answer that. But I think students are really just like getting back to like getting used to being back in person. I guess that's a shift. Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention this year I'm interning at a high school, so that looks a little different from middle school last year.
Thanks for sharing it. So I think we're coming through the end. Shamun, if it is okay, like we can think about the insights and share everyone.
Okay. So really at the end of the day, we heard a lot of cool things tonight. And what we want to do is collect all this information that we've notated here and be able to share that with you. And we ask that if you have any other ideas, any other things that you'd want to add to that document, you're welcome to do so. And I'm going to really share it with everybody in our network. And at the end of the day, if you get to a point sometime this school year and you come across this really cool idea, and let's say you tried it out, you went out of your comfort zone, you're like, wow, like this really got a lot of students engaged. Make a note of it and feel free to jump back into that document and share what that looked like. And so that we can constantly learn from you and you learn from us and vice versa. At the end of the day, we want to be a network of people that are, again, just trying to help others. And the more we do that, the more we can, feel better about our jobs, the more we could get better at what we do, right? And we've all been there in the last year where we presented something and maybe we didn't get a lot of engagement with our kids, for example. And because of that, I think a lot of us were forced to start thinking outside of the box, especially in the area of technology, to try to improve our way of doing our work so that gets a little bit better each time. So this year, now they're back, a lot of the students. So what are you doing that's a combination of some of that from last year and what you were doing pre-COVID that seems to be working? Just something that comes to my mind is we did this activity called the Game of Life, where we wanted the freshmen to really think about and envision what their life would be like in 10 to 20 years. What kind of house do you want to live in? What kind of car do you want to drive? Where do you want to live? And so on and so forth. So pre-COVID, what I did is put the kids in groups of 4 and then assign each member of that group a role. So you can work amongst yourselves and assign the person who's going to be the speaker, who's going to be the note taker, who's going to be the person doing the calculating, and so on and so forth. Each person had a role, and then they would present what they came up with. Our group, wanted to be a person who, wanted to live a lavish lifestyle. This is how much it would cost. This is the kind of lifestyle, that it is. This is how much it would cost monthly. This is the type of career that we would need to be able to afford that kind of a lifestyle. So the kids were in groups, assigned roles, and presented, right? So this was pre-COVID. We tried that same lesson the following year with COVID, and the assigning of the groups didn't work as well, and the kids were giving us radio silence. So now we're back, and we're gonna do a combination of that group work again, assigning roles and walking around and getting the kids involved. But now we got masks the whole time, and the kids have been used to doing mostly virtual for the past year and a half. So if I come up with some cool idea, that's an example of something I would share on this document that we would like you to do for us too, as you're going throughout this school year. Or if you go to a conference and you hear something really engaging and cool from someone else and you try it out, feel free to share that with us too. At the end of the day, that's really in a nutshell what we wanted to accomplish, and for an opportunity to get to know you and you get to know us.
Thank you for that. I mean, this was not, I'm like, I didn't know I needed to hear this, but it's really appreciating you getting this conversation started, and the school counselor community is such a great one. And I feel like you don't survive if you don't have support and camaraderie and community. So appreciate you today.
No, thank you. And I couldn't agree with that anymore. I know Ennis is a big believer in that. You know, him and I have really always talked about building a community through this opportunity that's been brought upon us lately. And we want to just continue to expand that opportunity and help each other out. Because like you said, it is very challenging. I hear more and more educators are trying to jump ship and leave. and so we're trying to keep that going and keep the good ones happy and help each other out.
Exactly. So this is definitely what we want to achieve with these gatherings. Like people from different parts of the country with different experience, with different background, can share their thoughts on a specific topic, and the collective mind will show us different aspects. So this is what we want to achieve, and this was the first step of these gatherings, and we will organize more of these events, and hopefully we will have more opportunities to share our ideas with each other.
Thank you so much. This was wonderful to have, whether it was a large group or a small group. Either way, it's good to hear from somebody else and get a different perspective on things, because collaboration is the most important thing, as all of us already know. I really look forward to doing this again, and I look forward to connecting with all of you more.
Likewise.
Yeah, I agree. I appreciate that too. I think what caught my attention to even join was looking for strategies. We're all, we're trying to figure out, ways to mix it up. Sometimes we get stuck in our groove, and here we are on a Friday night. I mean, kudos to everybody that's here. It definitely shows a level of commitment and dedication just to be able to like sharpen our swords. So absolutely, thank you guys.
Thank you. Thank you all so much. On behalf of all of the team at CounselHero, we hope to see you again in the very near future. If Friday nights don't work, don't worry about it. We get it. Lots of things going on Friday night. People want to go party. I get it. So we will mix it up. We'll have some occasional Monday evening, Wednesday evening. If there's going to be a time when we want to do it on a Saturday morning, we're open to that too. So, any feedback that you have on expanding this opportunity, and if you could share that with your family and friends, educator people that want to chime in and also be a part of this, please welcome them. Know that everyone is welcome. Students, interns, children, educators, administrators, and tech people of all. So thank you very much on behalf of all of us too. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you too, and I also appreciate too that putting stuff in writing so that we can refer back to it is a great idea. So I just want to say thank you to everyone, and for everyone's participation, and look forward to future events.
Perfect. So we will send the document that we collected. We try to take note of all the ideas that are being shared here, And I mean, you'll be notified when there's a new event that we are organizing. We're planning to do this workshop style once in a month, and we are also organizing regular meetups, and we also have a podcast which is called School Counselor Karaoke. So it is not about the tone of the voice, but mostly about your experience, and Shamun is our host there. So if you're interested in being a guest, we have an email, SCK, the first letters of the podcast, School Counselor Karaoke, SCK@CounselHero.com. So you can share a brief abstract about you and your resume, and maybe like we can continue the conversation there.
And I want to add that you don't have to be a professional singer.
Yeah.
Although the tradition is that you will have to do 15-30 seconds of karaoke as your final send off.
Yeah.
Mostly it's about things like this, sharing tips and best practice with school counselors and for school counselors and parents and students. And we have fun with it as well. And so at the end, we ask that you get to choose your own song, you get to do some karaoke, and you say goodbye to the audience.
Yeah. But don't worry about it.
Exactly.
That part. It is the
I for one am not the best singer.
Yeah.
So I'll be the last one to judge. I'm more of a dancer kind of guy. And if you want, I just am going to include that link here if possible. See if it works. I just included it. It's a Spotify link. Otherwise, you can just, wherever you get your podcasts, just Google School Counselor Karaoke, and you will be connected to our podcast. And you are more than welcome to listen to it and or request to be a guest.
Perfect. So thanks for being with us tonight. And we're hoping to organize more of these events, and hope we can see you there as well.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Right.